Hey guys, and welcome to my introduction to Maya tutorials. I don't know how many of these I'm going to make, but I hope there'll be a gateway for people who are intimidated by 3D software to explore the medium a little bit more. These are mostly going to be aimed at people who want to get into 3D, and so it's going to start out quite simple, but it might just be a nice refresher for those who use it a lot already or are just coming from other programs like 3ds Max or Cinema 4D or Blender. These videos will be covering the basics of Maya's UI, modeling, texturing, rigging, animation, and rendering. And if anyone wants any specifics within those subjects, leave a comment and I'll see if I can include it in any future videos. Now let's just swoosh right into this jam and get started. Now, I know what it's like when you first get into Maya. There's buttons everywhere, there's fancy pictures, cubes and stuff. There's a grid, there's a thing. There's lots of things basically to figure out, and there's too many tabs to keep track of, so let's just break it down to what they all are individually. First, this big window with the grid in it is called the viewport. This is where you'll model and animate things and move stuff everywhere, and that's why it's so big, because it's full of so many things to do. You probably want to be flying around and figuring out how to get about, and for that most of the controls are based around the Alt key. Hold Alt and left click to orbit, Alt and middle mouse to pan, and Alt and right click to dolly. Just clicking will select things, left click. Clicking and dragging will make a selection box if you want to select multiple things, and if you end up getting lost really far away from the grid and you have no idea where it is, just press F and it will frame everything in your scene. If you have a lot of things in your scene, it may not look as it may not frame it as well as you'd want, but it takes you to where everything is if you get lost. The other thing you'll probably notice or look up to next are the chunky icons all up here. Now these will most likely look different or be shuffled around depending on which version of Maya you're using. For this I'm using Maya 2018, some people still use 2016 a lot, it's just personal preference to which one they prefer. These icons will change depending on what tab you're under, which is shown just above them up here. Some contain things for modeling, rigging, animation, effects, etc. And if you're unsure what some of the icons will do, just hover your mouse over the icon and way at the bottom left down there, it will give you a small description of what it does. But just to make you go, ooh, these icons here are for creating basic shapes. Give them a click. Shapow! It's a cube. Above all of these icons and tabs, just up here, are, or what at least I think of them as, are context menus. So depending on what you want to do, these menus can change as well. Mostly because if you actually had all the menus up here for everything you could do, it would probably fly off the screen. So they just kind of broke them up into little categories. You can change what menus show up in this little left drop-down menu here. So, for example, modeling, say if you want to do animation stuff, that would change them to mostly animation menus. But if you're starting out, I'd recommend just staying in modeling, just to keep things simple. You're free to explore, but just make sure you know how to get back to where you want to be. Similar to these are the Workspace presets in the top right here. It's a bit more difficult to find. Basically what these do are they reorganize your windows to probably better suit what you're doing. I use the animation one a lot, so you've got modeling, sculpting, so I use animation, which brings up the curve editor on the bottom, the graph editor, but for your sake I would say stay with Maya Classic. You probably won't be changing that anytime soon, but it just helps to lay things out better for what you'd need it for. On the very right here, there's a couple of tabs you may not notice, but you'll be using quite a lot. They're a little bit hidden, they're just right around here, and you may not have one or two of them because they may be turned off by default, but this one is known as the channel box. There's nothing in it at the moment, but if you have something selected, or like you put an object in the scene, and you click on it, it's mostly just a bunch of rectangles which just tells you where it is in space, how to translate it, how to rotate it, and how to scale it. This is really good for like precise measurements, So, you know, getting all those precise, exact decimal point locations. And if you're kind of finicky about that kind of stuff, for animation, it's almost essential because, well, you use it a lot when you're rotating and moving joints and rigs. So you'd want to know where everything is, but that will be in a future video. The attribute editor is another one you may be using quite a lot, which is this one. It's a bit bigger. I wish it was a bit smaller myself, but same as the channel box editor, if you have something selected, it will open up all these tabs, like 10 tabs. It's pretty intimidating. But if you're starting out, I would recommend just sticking to the very far right tabs, which are typically the materials. So you can ignore all of these if you want. You could probably get to them later on. But this is mostly where you'd go to change your materials, like the color, if it's transparent, etc. Besides that, you probably won't be using it as much as a beginner anyway, but if you're going heavily into adding textures and materials, this is definitely one you'll be using quite a lot. Like I said, the rest of these tabs, don't need to worry about them. At one point in the future, you'll look at them and be like, easy, I understand all of this. But for now, just I say stick to the materials. On the bottom here, you'll have the timeline. You can scroll through it by just clicking inside it and dragging around like, but since you don't have anything in the viewport that's animated, nothing will really happen. So yeah, keep it on frame 1 just to be safe, because when you start animation, if you start at frame 43, you don't know what will happen, so just stick to frame 1 just in case. I won't go too into the specifics of preferences and settings, as you probably won't be worrying about them too much at this point, but just in case, they are here. This little button with the man with the gear on it on the bottom right, up here, and in the Windows tab at the top, settings, preferences, and then preferences, it will be in there as well, in case you need it. And finally, on the left, we have a couple things. These icons with the mouse I'll go into in another video, but essentially they're just select, lasso tool, move, rotate, and scale for when you're modeling or animating things. But the icons underneath are for different layouts for the viewport. One makes it big, which is this one. One cuts it in half like a pizza, and one splits it into 4, like your mate just arrived at the party and saw the pizza and was like, hey guys, got room for one more? By default, when you change the layout, it will make one of the windows the normal perspective view, which is this one here, and the other the orthographic views, which just means like it's entirely flat from a single direction, like completely side on, front on, no perspective whatsoever. If you end up putting more than one camera into your scene, then you can just assign it to another view. Like here, I could just make all of these perspective, but then I would be controlling all of them at once. I typically do this when I'm animating, so I may have like this layout, which is just the 2 windows. I'd probably have a camera here, which shows how it will look when I'm finished, and this camera where I just work on everything. And the 4th icon is the outliner. This is it's basically just a list of everything you have in your scene. I usually have this one open quite a lot. It's just a big old list. It's really helpful for keeping track of everything you've made, or selecting things that you've probably hidden or can't see, and also renaming the 74 cubes you've slapped in your scene because you didn't name them, like a doofus, and seeing how things are connected to each other. Hopefully that's enough to get you around some of the most simple parts of the UI in Maya, and explain what a good few bits do. But if you have any questions on any specific icons in any of these menus at all, leave a comment or just send me a message. My next video will go into some really simple modeling tools and navigation around it. So if you want to support me, donate to my Patreon so I can make more of these at a quicker rate. Thank you.